Hey y'all, this is Michael Wall. This is Wednesday with Wallpaper. Wicka wicka. Hey, so glad you joined me again. Hey, today we want to go into 1 Kings chapter 17. It's really cool because it talks about Elijah. Elijah is one of the coolest guys in the Bible. Man, he had fire come out of heaven. He was fed by ravens. Such cool stuff. He went up in a fiery chariot. Like really, really cool things about this guy. Prophet named Elijah. Well, a prophet has to tell the truth and tell the truth about God, and this is what he did. He was prophesying, and he prophesied to the king about who God was, and they didn't like it. And so he had to flee for his life. So he fled up into the mountains, and the Lord said, I will take care of you. So he basically said that your God ain't great, your God ain't good, mine is better. Then he had to run for his life because he was going to be killed. So the Lord said, I will take care of you. So he went up into the mountains after he did that, and he was fed by ravens. Yeah, actually birds came and fed him. And he was given water through a brook. There was a brook that was provided for water. Now, food was important. You can go about 3 weeks without food, but water is more important because you only go about 3 days without water. And so the brook was really, really important. So he listened to God, he went, and then he did what he was supposed to do, and he was being taken care of by God. That happens with a lot of us. We make decisions, we go and we say, God, I'm trusting you in my decisions, and we go. Now, it is all great when everything lines up, but sometimes in life, it doesn't always line up, right? There's a point where then all of a sudden, I think it's in verse 7 in chapter 17 of 1 Kings, it says, and then the brook dried up. So hold on. So he had everything, he ran, he went away, God took care of him, and then all of a sudden, the brook dried up. No longer was there water for him to survive. And again, he can't survive long on water. Why in the world would God do that? Sometimes in our lives, that's what happens to us. We're content with where we're at. We're content in what's happening. Even as weird as it is to being fed by ravens and being drinking from a brook, he's like, hey, I'm cool. God's taking care of me. Then all of a sudden, it's time to move. And we don't like that. Sometimes the brook dries up. Sometimes bad situations are happening and we feel like the brook is drying up in our lives. Where it's like, God, it was so good. We were doing fine. Now all of a sudden you took this away. And it is hard. It is difficult in those situations. But here's the thing. A lot of times, even when we feel like we're in a desperate situation or a bad situation because the brook is dried up, the supplies that we had before, the things that were working before are not working anymore. Now, let me say that again. Sometimes the things in our life that we're working, they're not working anymore. And we're like, God, why are you letting this happen to me? Does anybody feel what I'm saying? And your brook has dried up. But the really important thing about Elijah is that he was only one chapter away from calling fire out of heaven to set a burnt offering on fire. And God sent it out of heaven. He went to and asked God to do it. He called his God, and it happened. He was only one chapter away from a miracle happening in his life. You know, some of us may be even listening to this and saying, man, Michael, I feel like my brook is dried up. Like what was awesome before ain't awesome anymore. So what happened is once his brook dried up, he had to move to where God was leading him. So sometimes what happens is our brook will dry up, but all it is God's moving us to a better place. If you stay where you're at, you're never going to experience the blessings that God is going to do through you. And again, he was only one chapter away from calling fire out of heaven. I mean, an unbelievable miracle. And I believe the same thing. Be faithful in God. I know some of us may feel like you know, where we're at is not where you want to be. So listen to God. Be in your prayer time. Be praying to God to ask him, God, where do you want to lead me? What do I need to do next? Get close to him. Listen to him. And many of you are only one chapter away from an amazing miracle in your life. I know I feel that in my own life. There's many times that I've had plans I don't feel like they've gone, or everything was great and I loved the church where I was at, or whatever happened, and it was time for me to move. And man, am I so glad I moved. Am I so glad I listened to God. I listened to my calling, because I would have missed where I am and been stuck where I was. You know? And that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to miss where we're at and be stuck where we were. And so some of us need to really pray about it and think about it. And even if you feel like your brook is dried up, God I'm telling you, has something for you. You may only be one chapter away from a miracle. Hey, love you guys. Continue to be going in the Word, seeking Him. Hopefully these Wednesdays with Wallpaper is just an encouragement to you. Encouragement to you every day. Hey, reading 1 Kings is an awesome, awesome book of the Bible. Learning about Elijah and all these other people. So anyway, love you. God bless you. This was Wednesday with Wallpaper.